I was coming out of high school, 1995, and I'm a homebody. I mean, I wouldn't leave my house very often, and I damn sure wouldn't leave my city unless I had to. So when I'm looking at colleges, it was a real hotbed back then for the Northwest. They've done away with them all. It didn't used to be. Boise State was right up the road. California Davis was a little further the other way. And Portland State was here. University of Oregon. I mean, this is off the top of my head that have all lost their programs since then. But I had it narrowed down. The University of Oregon to Oregon State University. And dealing with Oregon State was very tough. It was very, very hard because they would not tell you what the offer was. They were giving you a scholarship. Everybody leads with that. I've never heard of it until then. I've never heard of it since then. If it's common practice, I haven't heard of it. And Oregon State would not tell you what the scholarship offer was. They would bring you out. They bring on a recruiting trip. They tell you they want you. You give you a projected lineup. Let you look at the facility, meet all the coaches, say hello to the boys. They would not tell you what they were willing to pay for you to sign a letter of intent to come there. Why? Well, they had a real simple theory. Coach Steiner was the one I dealt with over the phone. He had a real simple theory. We don't want you coming here because we bribed you. We're not looking for guys to come here because we paid them more than somebody else. We want guys to come here that want to be here. Want to show you what we have to offer. Want to show you what we can do with you, show you what we've done with other guys, and want you to buy in and believe in that. And after you commit to us, we will then come and tell you the number. We have the number. There's a number. But we'll get to that after we get to the commitment. It was very interesting. I've had a number of years to reflect and think on that, and I still haven't formed an opinion if that was good or if that was bad. That didn't work for me. But whether I like that theory or not is a very interesting one. And it worked a lot of times. And they had some very good teams. Now, I share that with you because there's so much to be said for precedence, for how were things done. So all morale is going to be based on how other people are treated. So it's a really interesting spot, right? I mean, there's a lot of things that you have to juggle and balance. If you studied the history of the UFC, would you come to a conclusion that it's a very good idea to publicly dispute with the UFC? To fight with them and fight with them publicly? Would you come to that conclusion if you were a historian of the sport? If you watched what BJ Penn did? If you knew the breach that BJ did? If you knew about the courtrooms that drug the UFC versus BJ into, and then you saw the treatment in the Ultimate Fighter multiple times and damn near more fights than anybody in world title opportunities, would you come to the conclusion that BJ was right? That must be what you're supposed to do. Well, what would you do if you weren't a fan from way back then? You kind of tuned in recently and you saw Henry Cejudo. And you saw him drop the belt, and you saw him walk away. Then you saw him come back right into a world title fight. Would you then think, hey, from BJ to Henry, I think this is good. I think it's good to grab and shake things up. It looks like it's all working out. And what if you don't go back that far, but you do go back to last week, where Jon Jones held up a division, gave a belt back, did it all publicly, turned the gun, both barrels right on you. But a little bit of time goes by and he's doing an 8-fight deal. Beautiful things said about Jon will fight anybody. Jon he was willing to fight anybody. He hadn't been willing to fight a goddamn person for 3 years. So watch yourself on that one, but you're going to put him right into a main event with a raise on an 8-fight deal and praise him in the meanwhile. Is it a good idea? to do what BJ did, to do what Henry did, to do what Jon did. I'm asking a question. Because I think that's the leading answer that Nate Diaz is going to do. I think Nate Diaz's most likely return is to the UFC. And what would possibly be stopping Francis from doing the same thing? I mean, yeah, the talks are going to be different. Sure. Likely. But you don't know who's going to come in with a different tune. Is it going to be you? Is it going to be them? The Francis story is far from told, guys. It's far from told. If Surreal goes through Jon Jones, Francis is safe. Francis is protected. There will be an asterisk, the same as when Daniel Cormier came in on the back of Jon Jones. It's not fair and it's not right, but it happened. So I'm only sharing for you. There is still a little bit of time. There still is a little bit of discussion. You still are in a heavyweight division where none of them have spoken up. As a matter of fact, the two guys that had a right to speak up between Sergey Pavlovich and Curtis Blades co-signed. They like the idea. As a matter of fact, they're willing to go fight with each other. I mean, like, everything sometimes just falls into place where you look around a little bit of time later and you go, hey, dude, how about an 8-fight deal and a world title fight? Hey, dude, how about you come back when it's good for you and we'll put you right back in there for the belt? I mean, it's one of those spots. Well, what do you want to learn from that? Where do you want to go from this? Is that the appropriate recipe? But just to remind you, these stories aren't done yet. Being a free agent doesn't mean you can't come here. That's a misunderstanding. Entering free agency doesn't mean I've clarified I'm not coming there. It's a misunderstanding. Free agent can do what he would like and he can talk to whoever he would like. But that doesn't exclude the last place that he competed.